I am Tyryar, and this is one of my first content videos. So I wanted to talk about VR tech. Last time I mentioned, that I wanted to do this, and so I guess I'll go ahead and jump right into it. For those who didn't see last time, I wanted to talk about controllers. There's a lot of great headgear, and the Virtuix Omni seems to be on the right track for actually doing the, walking motion and everything. So that seems really cool. And if you can get the walking and the eyesight and, the touch, the feel right, the feel goods, uh, I think you'd have a pretty complete experience. The only thing is I really don't want them to develop this, but I have a feeling somebody will try to develop it. The taste and smell of the virtual world. Why I don't want people to develop this is because just think about it. How many, games, just think about all the games you played, and there's gotta be an area in which you have thought going through there, you know what? I really wonder what this place smells like. And then you go, never mind. I don't want to know what this place smells like. I've had a couple of those occasions. Uh, one one that I can remember really well is playing Dead Island and having to go through the sewers, and all I could think was I really would hate to actually be there and smell people's shit and rotting zombie corpses at the same time. This is a horrible, no. I don't want to smell that. Not in a game, not ever. That would, turn me off from a game. So let's not develop that, please. Leave that alone. No. So let's go to controllers. And I've seen a couple of really cool ones that I think are really interesting, but they're still kind of in their early stage. One is the STEM system. Now, if you haven't heard about this one, what it is basically two sensors on your feet, the controllers serve as sensors for your hands, and then they have the headgear tracking. So you have 5 points in which it kind of calculates where the hell you are. The controllers seem pretty basic. They have the trigger, and then they have two joysticks on either one of them. They're independent from each other. They have like a set of 6 buttons in a U pattern. Two here, and then two at the bottom on each one. So, I mean, that's a good controller type uh, interactive, I guess. I don't even know. Okay, I'm gonna try and classify this for a second. I believe there are controller types and then there are virtual types. Oh, excuse me. I am sorry. The controller types, I believe, are ones that don't want to break away from, our traditional gaming controllers. They still want to have buttons and joysticks and cool stuff to hold on to. Whereas virtual types try to give you the interaction instead of hitting A to open a door, or hitting this button to open a door, or reaching your hand out, clicking this trigger, and then pulling the door open. Which that's really neat. More virtual types would be ones in which you don't have any controls. It's if you want to open the door, you reach out and you have to open the door. You have to turn the knob and open the door. So that's, I know, horrible situation. It's not really exciting. I don't know, maybe I should go with something a little bit more, if you want to take down a zombie or something, in a controller type situation, you would run up to the zombie, pull your hand back and press A and just lunge forward, and totally like splatter its head everywhere. And so there's, you have to set it up and everything, and then that's pretty close, but you're still dealing with the controller. Virtual type, you would just run up and go wah, you know slam the shit out of a zombie head, like take it off with your arm. Sorry, that gave me a weird visual of like Prototype. It's a pretty good game. I mean, I like the concept of it, and sorry, I got way off again. Uh, so these are the two types of controllers I see being developed so far. The STEM system is more of a controller type, as is the Half Moon, which I think they recently changed the name. Uh, and I can't I remember reading it, but I can't remember exactly what they called it. Uh, yeah, I can't remember what they call it. Um, ooh, and I lost track of where I was going with that. Anyways, the half moons, I'm just gonna call them that. Uh, they are pretty cool. They have individual triggers for the fingers, and then trigger a trigger for the thumb that goes along with the joysticks and buttons. So they also have a sensor ring that goes around. That's what we call them, the half moons, and that is video tracked from outside sources. At least that's what I've read. So that's kind of neat. I mean, you got the full hand twisting and moving, and you just doing shit with your hands, and then you got the individual fingers and stuff. So that's kind of neat. That's seems like a feasible controller for early on virtual, you know, vir- virtual exploration. There we go. We'll go with that. That sounds cool. And I mean, it would. I don't know if they have it, but I think a really cool thing is if they add like feedback on the triggers, add like a little variable spring tension there, or maybe like be able to lock it at certain points. So whereas normally you'd be able to pull the trigger all the way in, but if you're grabbing something like the grip of a gun, three of them would lock all the way down, whereas the last one would only lock halfway, and that would serve as your trigger. Or just kind of add an extra feel to it. I don't know. I just think that'll be cool. Uh, the third Yes, third. We're on three. Hey! Uh, third one is if you haven't seen it, this little device is really cool, and this is one of the ones that I classify as a virtual uh, controller, and it's called the Leap Motion controller. Uh, it seems really neat in the way that it uses two cameras to 3D, like, damn it, like not track. What am I trying to think of? Like it scans your hands and forearms into a 3D like I don't know what the hell I'm trying to say. Anyways, it puts your arms in the game. Uh so I think this is really, really cool. So instead of having any sort of controller, you just have your hands. It's your hands doing everything. Now, the problem with this is because your hands are bare naked in the game, you can't really have any feedback whatsoever. So it's really dealing with a lot of hand eye coordination, and there's no extra sense of touch to kind of bring it all in. Another thing that I'm a little disappointed about with the Leap Motion controller is that it is 130 degrees of view, which they have a clip that mounts it to the Oculus Rift. Now, 130-degree view is about a little bit wider. It's about like this, and it's wherever you're looking. So if you have a 130-degree view, you're looking down at this. So out here, sure, that's all fine. You got range of motion, but if you move your hands like this, no longer in view of the camera. So that's a little bit. I think that wasn't too well thought out. I don't know. Originally, the Leap Motion, as I understand, was developed as a way to create a virtual keyboard, not so much as a controller for virtual reality. It's been adapted. So I believe there's a lot of upgrades they could do to that, especially opening up the angle. But one other problem I have with it is that its attachment point to the front of the Oculus Rift means that, the only thing I can think about with this is, have you ever been in a game and, they have every game has its own little like special things that you can do, but have you been in a game where you can search through a drawer or you're trying to open something and it takes time, and you have the ability to like look down the hallway or something to your left and right? Well, with the leap motion, I see there being a problem with this, because if it only registers your hands while it's looking at them, what happens when you use the Oculus Rift to look down the hallway? And you look back and now your hands aren't doing anything and you've quit the whole sequence and everything. So now you're like, well, shit. So I can't look at anything else while I'm doing something. This tends to be a problem, Think about it. In an RPG game, you know, when you go to swing the sword, you're gonna swing from up here, and that's out of view. It doesn't come in view till like here. So, is it suddenly gonna like flash from you just holding your sword out in front of you to like shoof? It kind of the continuity's broken there. I think just adding some like not integrated. What am I trying to think? Like where not integrated. I don't want them integrated. I want them to be like where they're all working together. I can't think of the word right now. I'm sorry. But yeah, have like two on the sides and then one on the front so that it's constantly, you got everything covered. Like 180 degrees from here covered. That would be good. That would be a decent thing, but then you still have the problem of not being able to feel when you're touching things. So, I see you having the problem of, and like I said, with most controllers, there's no feedback. So, what happens when, in the game, there's a wall right here, but for you, you can put your hand here. So, what's that translate to in the game? Does that mean you just put your arm through the wall? You know, hell, if I could do that, I see, I don't know how they would fix that. Because I don't see how you'd fix that without breaking continuity and causing the gamer to feel like they fell out of the game. See, but otherwise, I would just be like, I'm a ghost. Put my arm through door, reach around the handle, open, unlock the door. There you go. That's my lock picking. But stuff like that. There's certain things that are really like game breakers if you don't think about how to fix these. Sure, you could just make it where the in-game character can't put his hand any further than the wall, but then you've got your hand all the way out here, and you're like, well, this, and in-game you're seeing your hand is like pressed against the wall right here. I don't know about this. So yeah. Anyways, another thing that I've seen being developed, and this is not so much of a controller, but a feedback system for virtual environments. I can't think of the name of it right now, and I don't know who's developing it. I just read an article where it was being developed. If you guys can find what it was, or maybe if I find it again, I'll go ahead and put it up in the description. But what it is a type of glove. So far, they've only got it on the fingertips that they're testing. Whereas in game, like say you were to touch something, the pressure points where it's telling the game that you're touching something, it would provide feedback, blowing up little air sacs inside the glove that is pressed between your finger and the glove, the outside of the glove, which would cause there to be pressure put on your finger, making it feel like you were actually touching something. Now, this is a really interesting concept. This is a good step towards trying to provide that feedback. It's not the greatest. It's air, so you got to have a compressor somewhere, especially using it so often in gaming. Uh, but what I'd like to see is a full glove developed with that on, all the main touch points, but also I would like to see it with little tubes in between the joints. Because I think that would be really cool, because if you could fill those up to air with a certain pressure to where when you closed your hand around something and it got to a certain point, it would fill those little tubes up to where you couldn't close your hand physically. It would make it feel like you were actually holding on to something, which I think that would, if you could just do it for the hands, I believe that would be enough to keep a gamer fully immersed. You know, especially like I said, if you can have the walking, the motion, the eyesight taken care of, the visuals, and then the touch for the hands, have that feel, the good feels, have the good feels with that. I think it would be perfect. You would stay in game. You'd probably forget that there was another world, right outside of your rift. Um, One video that I absolutely love is done by Markiplier, and it's one of his. If you haven't seen it, please check it out. Uh, I believe it is called Alone, and it's a Rift game, early development, but what it is you are a gamer sitting on a couch in a living room playing another game inside the game. Now, what this does is it tricks the mind into thinking you're the gamer on the couch inside the game. And since you're playing a game with a controller, and in game you're playing with a controller, you forget that you're already in a game. And this starts to become your environment while you're playing this little game over here. So when shit starts happening around you in the game, you kind of tend to forget that you're in a game, that part of the gaming experience is just a game, and that becomes your reality. It's a trick. It's like an inception trick. And I love the idea of that. That's really cool. And the fact that even with such low graphics and a you're not walking, and you don't have like I was talking about, the feedback from the feeling uh from touch. It still really immerses you and keeps you there, and it really trips you out. So if you haven't seen it, please watch it. It's really cool. uh Plus, Mark's entertaining anyways. uh but what I would like to see from a future controller is something like that. Like I said, the gloves, being able to give you feedback. Air is not such a good system. Pneumatics doesn't seem to be fast enough to respond quickly enough. And having a compressor running, even if it is a small one, while you're trying to play a game, I don't know, I figure it'd be annoying. So if you could find like some sort of material that would harden or contract. They've been trying to look for something that contracts for years to use as replacement muscles. But if you could find something that hardens in response to electrical pulses, I believe making a glove out of that would be amazing. Or not really out of it, but in the same design, have the outer glove that fits skin tight, and then have those to just create the pressure in between the glove and your fingers, or the glove and your skin. That would be really cool. And then have the sensors on it so it can tell which way your hands are turning and everything, and making cool, yeah. Uh, that I think would be the most optimal use of our current technology to create the most realistic feel within a virtual environment. I really would like to move away from the controller gaming. I believe in virtual reality, you should be able to use your hands like you would in normal life. Now, I have no problem because we have remotes. We have controllers that do stuff for us. So I don't mind those being implemented in game so much. Like, think about it. Instead of actually having a controller in the real world, if you had these gloves that could, sense and stop you from actually closing your hands all the way, make you feel like you're gripping something, think about picking up an Xbox One controller in game and, actually feel it there. But, outside world, they literally see this. They'd see you, so virtual controller. That's a really neat concept that you could use in game to implement. If you're not doing so well just using your hands for the controls, you can be like, create a command snap and it gives you a controller in which then you can access your menus and do all your stuff. And then, when you just throw the controller away and it automatically disappears, there you go. That's your in game helper. But otherwise, do it with your hands. See, that kind of stuff would be neat. Uh, I don't really think I got much else to say on the topic. If you guys have any comments, if you guys want to talk about a neat controller concept that you've had or a concept related to VR in any way, I would love to hear it. I want to really try and gain some support for the moving away from controllers and moving towards these more hands-on uh, games, because another issue we'll run into as we go on with VR is that if the game is not tailor made to accept inputs from your hand, like say the menu, if it doesn't have a built-in way for you to just summon the menu up with your hands and you have to go to a controller to get the menu to come up, it I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. You have to switch to a controller, you have to break the continuity. But if you do it, if you get these developers to understand what we're trying to shift to, then they'll make games that are like that, and that'll become a norm. I would love to see that. I would be extremely ecstatic. I mean, I have thought about jumping into a virtual world since I was old enough to understand it. Uh, I guess a couple of things. If you guys haven't seen Sword Art Online, watch it. It's cool as hell. Another one, not quite as close, is Log Horizon, but still awesome. I love anime. I'm sorry. Uh, but so I'm a couple of things to check out. If you guys have anything you want me to check out, tell me what it is and tell me what I'm supposed to be looking for, and I will try to find it and look it up. And so I'm on the page same with you guys. Really, same page as you guys. Uh, but I hope you guys had fun with this. Please comment. Tell me what you think. What are your opinions? And I mean, don't be offended if you're a PlayStation user or specifically a PC gamer. I don't care. You're a gamer. You're my friend. It's all cool. Uh, so yeah. Hope you had a good one. Bye.